Hello viewers, welcome to the annual refresher program in teaching or ARPIT. In this module, we will be talking about the agricultural mechanization situation in the country. This module will comprise of agricultural production and input uses in India. Then we will be talking about the current trends in the Indian agricultural mechanization, and finally we will be touching upon the methodology of computing the farm power availability, or in short FPA, for a given location with the given amount of information. I would recommend the following references to support this particular module: the ICAR IASRI 2019 Agricultural Research Data Book, which has been of great help, especially various tables and figures are drawn based on the data retrieved from this particular source. Agricultural mechanization in the country. If we look at the Indian agriculture in a nutshell, we would see that the agriculture in the country supports about 43% of the workforce in terms of employment, whereas it provides livelihood to as high as 60% of the country's population. It contributes to 14.8% of the GDP as per the latest statistics from 2017 and 18. The country produces 277 million metric tons of food grains annually, whereas the production of pulses is 22 million metric ton and 300 million metric ton is produced from fruits and vegetables. Out of the 140 million hectare of the net sown area in the country, about 48.8% is irrigated, which is 68.4 million hectares. Agricultural land holdings are registered to be 138 millions as per the census of 2011. There are 263 million agricultural workers which are supposed to be working on agricultural related activities. India is a diverse country and we are blessed with a number of soil types which support the variety of crops production. If we express the major soil groups available in the country as a proportion of its total geographical area, we would notice that about 15% of the area is covered with red sandy soil, 13% is by the medium black soil, 12% is from the alluvial recent soil, 10% is from red and yellow soil, 7% is from red loamy soil, and so on and so forth. If we see, about 50% of the country's area is representing red sandy soil, medium black soil, alluvial recent soil, or the red and yellow soil. So, these soils are very strategic for the country's agricultural viewpoint. Now, if we look at the number of operational land holdings in the country, the numbers on the left hand side axis, left hand side figure is expressed in numbers million. The marginal land holding is less than 1 hectare, small 1 to 2 hectare, semi medium is 2 to 4 hectare, medium is 4 to 10 hectare, and above 10 hectare is considered to be the large. Its breakdown over the years is something worth noticing. If you will see that the proportion of the marginal, which is less than 1 hectare acreage, the number of operational holdings are significantly increasing. Currently, in 2010 and 11 statistics, the country is having about 67% of the total operational land holdings are constituted with the marginal landholders, and its share in each year has been increasing. Now, if we will look at the area of operational land holding, we will notice that over the years, the large farms, the medium farms as well as the marginal farms, their share has been increasing, whereas the large and semi medium farm, they are shrinking in the proportion of the area of operational land holding over the years. Land holding pattern calls for smaller mechanization solution. The marginal farms are the bottom of the country's pyramid. So, the affordability and size of the equipment are key to the success of any mechanization related policy in the country. We can expect the emerging trend as the cooperative ownership or the custom hiring mode of uses and the use of high end equipment. The state-wise percent distribution of the number of operational holdings during 2010 and 11 is shown in this figure, whereas the states or UTs having more than 50% of the marginal holdings include Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, UP, Bihar, West Bengal, Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, Manipur, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. So, these are the areas or states where there are more number of operational land holdings which are smaller or marginal. The population dynamics of the agricultural workers and cultivators is expressed in this graph. Now, if we look at the population dynamics of agricultural workers and cultivators in the country over the period of 1951 to the recent reported year of 2011, we can clearly see that the blue line, which represents the total population of the country, has been exponentially increasing, which is of course a sign of worry. At the same time, if we look at the right hand axis where the cultivators are expressed as the percent of the total agricultural workers, which is the green portion of the stack bar chart, are also proportionately decreasing. So, we have got altogether the decreasing agricultural workers in proportion to the growing population. We are also having the decreasing number of cultivators, whereas the managers or the non-cultivators, this could be the traders among the agriculture workers, are increasing. So, we may expect the shortage of laborers in agricultural sector, which will drive the need for the mechanization, and this will certainly call for machines with minimum human intervention. The country's projections for the population is expressed for 2020 and 2050. We expect to be more than 1.3 and 1.6 billion people respectively in 2020 and 2050, with the number of workers expressed as the percent of the population will more or less be varying between 39 to 43%. The worrying trend which can be noticed as the proportion of agricultural workers to the total workers, which are seriously declining or expected to be declined to be as low as 26% by 2050. Similarly, the proportion of the females working in the agricultural workforce are considered to be increasing, and we may expect that by the end of 2050 they will be as high as 60% of female contributing to the agricultural tasks. Now, these two pieces of information, if we tend to connect together, there are certain inferences to be made. Number one, there will be less people working truly on the agricultural farms. So, there is definitely a requirement for increasing mechanization. Now, whether or not that mechanized solution is going to support its users, that is the women or female agricultural workers, that is something the designers of agricultural machinery or the proponents of agricultural mechanization must need to factor in, because there will be more and more participation of female laborers as proportion of the total workforce in agriculture is expected in the years to come. The major cropping systems is presented in this very colorful graph, which again is commensurating to the different soil types the country is expressing in terms of its rich diversity. The rice wheat cropping system is seemed to be the most popular one, which is used on the area more than 10.5 million hectare. The next popular cropping system is supposed to be rice, which is grown on 5.89 million hectare, followed by cotton wheat, soybean wheat, maize wheat and pearl millet wheat cropping production systems. The gross cropped area, which is expressed as the percentage and its distribution for the year 2014 and 15 is expressed this way. The rice is grown on 22% of the gross cropped area, followed by 16% on wheat, 13% on the coarse cereals, 11% gross cropped area is used for the production of the total pulses, 3% for the production of sugarcane, 2% for condiments and spices, 2% for the total fruits, 3% for total vegetables, 14% for the total oil seed, 7% for the total fiber and 7% for the other crops. The zone wise percent share of the consumption of electricity for the agricultural purpose is expressed in this table. The northern region, which comprises Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab, Rajasthan, UP, Uttarakhand, Chandigarh and Delhi, these regions consumes as high as 21.69% of the electricity for the agricultural purposes, whereas 23.30% share of the consumption for agricultural purpose is noticed in the western region, which comprises Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra, Goa, Daman and Diu, Dadra and Nagar Haveli. The southern region comprising Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Puducherry and Lakshadweep, it expresses the 22.08% share of consumption for agricultural purposes for the annual electricity consumption. The eastern and northeastern state roughly comprise about 3% of their respective annual electricity consumption towards the agricultural purposes. So, that is how we have the all India national average of 20.06 percent of the annual electricity consumption in the country, which is totaling to nearly 173 billion units or billion kilowatt hour of electricity consumption per year. This electricity, no doubt, is being used in various forms, in various means, but irrigation is considered to be one of the major beneficiary of the electrification of the rural communities. Out of the 198.48 million hectare area, which is total sown area, 49% of this area is irrigated on a national basis. Now, it is worth noticing how this area is distributed for different crops. Considering rice, 60% of the rice grown in the country is on the irrigated area. 94% of the area cultivated under wheat is irrigated. For all pulses, only 20% of the area is irrigated. for fruits and vegetables, about 66% of the area is irrigated. For the total food grains, if we will put them together, we will see that about 53% of the total food grains is irrigated, whereas for the oil seeds it is only 27% of the area which is irrigated. Now, this piece of information is particularly of interest for the planners of mechanization to have a fair idea about which crop or which cropping system is most prevailing in the country, and number 2, which crop or which cropping system is having the area which is mostly under irrigated or under the rain fed regimes. Now, if we will talk about the fertilizers, we probably do not have a very encouraging picture in front of us. The fertilizer consumption in terms of N, P and K are shown in the stacked bar charts, which are expressed for 1988-89 to 2016-17, the latest reported years. The bar chart on the top of the left graph is expressing the total gross cropped area in million hectare. You will notice that number 1, obviously the nitrogen remains to be the major constituent of the plant nutrition, followed by P2O5 and finally the K2O. We will notice that this graph can be split into 2 series of growths. The first one, which is mostly coinciding the first green revolution or the green revolution of the country, where the increase in the per hectare NPK consumption altogether is growing exponentially. Then perhaps the country and its countrymates are becoming more and more aware of the ill effects of over fertilizing, the ill effects of the leaching of those nutrients to the groundwater, or in turn increasing the production cost of the crop, and that is where we can see that in the recent years, somewhat from 2008-9 to 2016-17, the rate of growth has somewhat sluggish, which is indeed relatively better news. Currently, the average consumption of the fertilizers in the country is 128 kilograms per hectare of the gross cropped area. Now, how these applications of, I should say rather, the indiscriminate applications of fertilizer and plant nutrition per hectare basis to the gross cropped area is being translated in terms of the productivity. Productivity of all food grains expressed as kilogram per hectare, we would see on this picture again has got 2 different time series implications. Initially, the productivity responded well to the increment in the agricultural inputs, especially the plant nutritions, and in the second time series, which is from 2014-15 to recent years 2017-18, we are not having as high growth rate in the productivity as we expected in the first time series. So, the productivity average for all food grains in the country, the recent figure is 2.23 tons per hectare. Now, if we will talk the productivity values for individual crops, for rice we have 2.578 tons per hectare. The productivity of wheat is 3.3 tons per hectare. The productivity of sugarcane is about 79.65 tons per hectare, and the productivity for pulses is 841 kilograms per hectare. Now, this table shows the 3 largest producing states of important crops during 2017-18, where the production is expressed in million metric tons. For the food grains, the production of rice, West Bengal, Punjab and Uttar Pradesh are the top 3 states of the country. For the production of wheat, Uttar Pradesh, Punjab and Madhya Pradesh are the top 3 producers. For maize, Karnataka, Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh. For the total coarse cereals, Rajasthan, Karnataka and Maharashtra. And for the total pulses, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Maharashtra. And for total food grains, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh and Punjab are the top 3 performers of the country. Similarly, for the oilseed crops, Gujarat, Rajasthan and Andhra Pradesh are the top 3 producers of the country in terms of groundnut production. Rajasthan, Haryana and Madhya Pradesh are the top 3 producers for rapeseed and mustard. For soya bean production, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra and Rajasthan. For sunflower production, Karnataka, Bihar and Odisha. And for the total oil seeds, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Gujarat are the top 3 performing states in terms of production in the country. For the other cash crops including sugarcane, the top 3 performers are Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra and Karnataka. For cotton, Gujarat, Maharashtra and Telangana, whereas for the jute, West Bengal, Bihar and Assam remain to be the top 3 producers of these commodities in the country. After the production and productivity, now if you look at the status of food security in the country, this colorful stake bar chart shows a number of interesting facts. The average net availability of food grains according to the latest available statistics of 2018, we have 484.3 gram of the food grains available per capita per day. The share of different constituents including rice, wheat, other cereals, gram and pulses, it is clearly visible that the rice, wheat and including other cereals, they remain to be the main staple ingredients of an Indian diet, whereas the gram and pulses, they constitute the smaller share to the average person's diet on a national average basis. How much would be the production cost for producing different crops and what are its constituents? This information is particularly of importance, especially when you are designing an agricultural mechanization support system. If we will consider the important components of the cultivation cost, considering the information from 2015 and 16, these are human labor, animal labor, machine labor, seed, fertilizer, insecticide, irrigation and interest on working capital and finally the fixed costs. The 4 important crops of the country, paddy, wheat, maize and sugarcane are analyzed. The major part of the components of cultivating paddy, wheat, maize and sugarcane is from human labor. Sugarcane is an arduous crop which requires considerably high amount of human intervention, followed by maize and paddy, whereas the wheat requires the least amount of human power relatively in these 4 crops compared. The next component of the total cultivation cost is coming from animal labor. Obviously, the wheat and sugarcane, they are having the least contribution to the total cultivation cost, whereas in terms of maize, the animal labor is still being used in the country. The third component is the machine labor, which is expressed by these red bars. Proportionately, the contribution of the machine labor is the highest in the wheat production. The contribution of seed cost is shown in the purple color bars. The cost of fertilizer remains more or less same in absolute values. However, their proportionate contribution to the total cultivation cost is different depending on the total cost of production for the respective crops. The cost of insecticide is shown in the dark brown color. The irrigation cost is relatively one of the highest in the wheat, whereas proportionately it is the lowest in the case of paddy and maize. The another cost component is the interest on the working capital, which is expressed in the white bars, and the rest is the fixed cost. After these cost components for cultivating these important crops, now let us have a glance through the average cost of production for different crops in the country based on the statistics available for year 2015-16 in rupees per hectare. We will notice that the sugarcane appears to be the most expensive crop to produce. Per hectare it costs 1.34 lakh rupees. It is followed by onion, which requires 86,000 rupees per hectare, followed by potato 82,000 rupees per hectare, cotton 64,000 rupees per hectare, followed by jute, maize and groundnut, which requires little above 50,000 rupees per hectare, followed by rice, which requires 47,000 per hectare, and so on. Thank you very much.